playing outfield, and like I was like, yeah, these 5K runs I've been doing, they're great for stamina, but in terms of like, it's because I've just been trying to run the 5K. So the other day, yesterday, I literally just went for like a speed run, like ran 5K still, but instead of just I ran it like quickly and then walked, and so hopefully that gets me.
Different kind of endurance.
Exactly.
Yeah, so.
And I got new boots. They're over there in that box.
Oh, okay.
Because the other ones, my foot was about to come through the end of it. That's what you get up with a Sun Deco. So. But my feet are so annoying. It must have been in Sports Direct for an hour and a half. Tried on at least 10 pairs before I found something. Yeah. Because it was annoying. I'd go up and like they would fit the width, but my heel would be coming out, or they'd be a bit too long. So it's just like, God's sake.
Well, it's all right. So there's nothing wrong with trying. Like, you know, that's why I wear Asics boots, because for the same reasons. I can't find anything. Yeah. Otherwise, it's like it rubs. So this really is garbage time here, isn't it?
Yeah, it is.
There you go.
I may dump the dog downstairs because Becky just got back, and you were definitely racking your bed, so this is ultra garbage time this week.
That's all right. So we're going to be we can shoot some shit for a while.
Yeah.
Let's see what's the next message on my phone. Anyone want to know what that is? No, it's a photo of my mate's arse. Oh, in fact, there you go. That's what it was. Look at that for a stag do outfits. They've made him dress like that. If anyone can see it. If anyone's around, there you go. Look, that is grim. Sam Bell, everybody. We're probably going to get kicked off YouTube for that, but we'll see. Anyway.
We have no viewers here, that's fine.
Don't we? That's good. Because happy with that. Okay.
Boom. We'll get the jingle on the go. And away we go.
The only improve effect. Not really up. Nigel couldn't make it. And Brendan always said he could make it. Don't dig this hole. Phil, present to the guy. Always managed to do well. Yeah. He is a shocking person. You guys got a trophy? No. It was Breathe. Well, that's from Rashad Mendes.
Yes, you are Phil, and it's the jingle that never gets old.
Really
the LOC report back in for the full preseason. We've even had preseason games now, Chris. I don't know if you watched the first preseason game. I didn't watch it live. I watched it back.
What, the Hall of Fame game?
The Hall of Fame game.
Oh yeah, man. That's it. I didn't watch any of it, but I did. I knew it was on. That's it. What happened?
It was a relatively low-scoring affair. If I recall, it was something like 13-3 or something like that to the Steelers.
Oof.
But it was alright. Kellen Balazs got a touchdown, and I believe left the game injured thereafter.
I mean, if they're going to do something this season, at least do
that.
Indeed.
So NFL's officially back.
Huge.
As is the LOC, of course. And we've got a good show for you today. It's the last time we'll look backwards for now, in the podcast anyway, as we'll look back at the 2020 season and the best and worst draft picks.
Oh, we love doing this every year
because
someone gets slagged off every year. Mainly you, Ben.
Yes, or me, because it's usually a train wreck. Fueled by injuries last year though, which I did remember.
Absolutely.
So we've got that. You'll probably notice, hopefully, production value a little better because I have two screens set up now on my PC, so we can keep all the production side off your screens, which is good.
And that means that I can do this.
Yeah.
See, look, did you see what I did there?
Yeah.
I don't know. If you're watching, if you're listening, just listening to it, then no. But if at some point I go, that'll be why. Alright, so anyway.
That's fine. And we've got, obviously it's a live stream, so if you are watching along live, we can see the comments on my iPad off screen, so please do interact with us, but we'll delay no longer, Chris, and we'll get into it with the league news once I find the jingle. So, I guess there is actually a news update that is required since the last podcast, because the division aligning event is now Sunday the 15th
which is good,
of August as opposed to Saturday.
I have to say, I think that's a great. Do you know what? That's a nice twist of fate. That because I was a little bit worried about. I was a little bit worried about going from one football match to that, and then now it's on Sunday. There's something to look forward to on both days now, so it's good.
Right, yeah, of course, because we have the pre-season friendly on that Saturday.
Indeed.
Which brings me on to, that's 12:30 Sunday the 15th. Still at Lockswood Club, so we've got all the confirmed.
Huge, you sit local as well.
8. Oh. Yeah, we'll be at least 8. Don't know if Ollie Gordon's going to be there, probably not, but we'll have 8 at least.
4 on 4, I'll take that. That's it.
I don't know what Ross has got cooking. He said he's got a number of things, balls in the air of what he could do, so we'll see what he comes up with on the day and how that translates.
All right.
We've also got, obviously, the draft is still the 4th of September. Time to be confirmed. I did say on the last episode, because you did inform us that there was no official league game on that day, but there is a friendly on that day. So
is
maybe
there? Oh,
the morning is a no-go.
Okay, morning's not so good now. So that's just changing a week. It's changing. That's it. I'm glad.
But that's fine, because it's the afternoon or evening slot will still be available, so that's okay.
Great.
That's still the same. Please pay your subs if you haven't already. Subs are £4 this year. Ben paid me literally straight after the message, which I'm very grateful for.
What an absolute guy. Look at that.
He's on it, that boy. He's on it. Fantasy-wise and general life.
So what? Just so there's a record of it, I'm going to pay it.
Thank you. Live on air. There you go, live on air. So yeah, if you don't pay those £4 subs, you don't get your draft picks until it's in my bank account.
Because this is as easy as it is, right? No, maybe
he's going to do it on it. Yeah.
That's it. It was just a loading screen. That's it. So yeah, you can see how in debt I am. Let's have a look. Somebody paid before. I've paid Nathan before.
I should be on there. It would have been around this time last year. Let's face it.
£4.
Thank you very much.
That's it. Standing order, maybe this time. There you go.
There you go.
And that's complete, everybody. So there you go.
Thank you very much. Please do the same as Chris has just done. That covers for the season a new main trophy, which I've already bought. So I'm already in arrears. That's how much I trust you guys to give me those £4 subs. I've also ordered the mini trophy for Ross. That's what he gets as well. For the Hall of Fame inductee, they will get the pennant, as will the committee one, if there is a committee one.
Yeah.
And of course that buys the Corona pack. For the winner as well. Not the virus pack, the beer pack. We do have to contextualise this nowadays. It's not a problem we foresaw on the LOC. But
if you've been double vaccinated, then you are good. So.
Yeah. We could always change it to the Birra Moretti Bowl or something.
That has a great ring to it. That has a great ring.
I'll tap them up and see if we can get a free case.
The Birra Moretti Bowl.
I did try that. When we were looking for a name, I did email a load of beer and asked, could you send us a case and we'll call our bowl game? Yeah, nobody bet on it. I did get actually some replies.
Did you?
And they said no. Largely because I think they have a budget for this kind of thing. But maybe that's the stock excuse they give everyone. But maybe I'll try again. We'll see.
That's it.
We're open to change.
The Birra Moretti bonus. That's it. I'm just going to alliterate. That's it. Any of that, the old, the Budweiser bowl sounds a little.
Of course.
Any of the beers that
Soul Bowl?
The Soul Bowl.
I like the Soul Bowl.
I love the Soul Bowl.
Yeah. Wow, I'll get. You know what breweries I'm talking to next, so
the Soul Bowl.
Maybe there'll be some change in the LOC.
I kind of get. I mean, I there's something about the Corona Bowl, but it's it. But it's something that you can translate now. But the Soul Bowl got a great ring to it.
Yeah,
that's better than the Birra Moretti Bowl. I've decided.
Okay, well, we'll see who gets sponsorship because that'll be what we go with if they give us a free crate.
Absolutely.
But anyway, that is included in your subs at the moment, as well as a year's worth of podcasting. But that's obviously free anyway. So yeah, please get your subs in. The Hall of Fame voting deadline, which I mentioned about the pennants, that is next Friday at 11:59. I am the only one to cast votes so far, but that's okay. People are busy. There are articles there to read for you for 5 of them. The other 2 are just, at the moment, nominee alone, but an article may arrive for them. But you can vote on them all the same. And obviously you can ask the nominees any more about the nomination if you want. You have those 3 sets of votes to use, a 3-point, 2-point, 1-point. You must spread them around, and the nomination with the most points is obviously inducted into the Hall of Fame. So that's all on the go. I think that's everything for news.
If Phil wins, do we have to send a pennant via airmail to him?
It's a good question, because that would not be included in the subs.
No,
just to clarify.
That would have to be a charitable donation, wouldn't it?
Yes, or Phil would have to pay for his own shipping if he wants.
That's fair enough. I can't imagine it would cost a great deal to do that.
To use it's only an A4. It literally comes in an A4
package.
So, yeah.
We'll see.
We'll see.
We'll report back on that one, just in case it happens.
Yeah.
You never know. Stranger things have happened.
So that is it for the news. So we may may as well just get into it. So yes, today is the 2020 best and worst draft picks and the season review. So we will start with the draft. We go into the old history tab over here and bring it up. We'll go round by round as normal, and then we'll maybe do our best and worst draft pick of the draft, and then we'll obviously look into the season.
Absolutely. Those that have been with us for a while, so this is a pretty straightforward thing. We look at each round, we pick our best, we pick our worst, and then we basically slag off the person who picked the worst one consistently, and then at the end, usually there's a cumulative total, and usually the people who have picked worst get in our Hall of Shame, rather than our Hall of Fame.
Yes.
So yes, but the drafting Hall of Shame this last year, there's quite a few around, I think.
It's understandable. I think we've looked at over the years. It does almost feel like about a 50-50 hit or miss rate in the first, certainly after the first round anyway. So it's not as easy as it's made out to be by all the experts, and optimism quickly fades after August. But let's see what happens. Speaking of optimism fading, the number 1 overall pick of last year's draft was Christian McCaffrey to Ixan, followed by Saquon Barkley to Gridiron Gang, Ezekiel Elliott to the Dream Team, Derrick Henry to Forge Flies, Alvin Kamara on the auto draft to Ross's team, Dalvin Cook to Ben Estes, Nick Chubb to UR Gold, Josh Jacobs to Bucking the Trend, Patrick Mahomes, our first QB off the board, pick number 9 there to the Tuck Fards, Clyde Edwards-Helaire to Bidetnays, Miles Sanders to Tom's Tyrants, and Joe Mixon to Pakistan. Now, right at the top, we obviously had 2 literally based on injury, complete garbage fires in Christian McCaffrey and Saquon Barkley, who Barkley I think went down the 2nd or 3rd week of the season.
Yep.
And missed the rest of the year. McCaffrey, he went down after the first few weeks, was it?
I think it might have even been week 2.
Yeah, quite early on. He did try to come back.
Yeah, he did. He came out for one game and did okay, and then went down again.
Yeah, so, but you know, when it's injury, it's almost, you can't blame the coaches too much there. So, in terms of the rest of it, though, I mean, there's some great value picks here.
You can kind of blame Ben because he did self-inflict himself.
This is an important context of the 2020 draft because he was the first coach to enact the Nathwani rule and swap from the 4th pick to the 1st pick with Chris, and dug his own grave. Maybe we do say that's a bad pick because he actually brought that on himself, technically.
That's it. You'd bet the house on the first pick that Christian McCaffrey was going to be the guy that he was the year before. Yeah. And to be honest with you, if I'd have been picked 1, you would have picked him too.
Yeah.
So I can only laugh so much, but he did do it to himself. So that is the problem. Now, I'm not going to say that the number 1 overall pick is a bad pick because it's not.
No,
it's not. No. If at that stage in time, that was the surefire thing to do. Any of us would have done it. Many of us would have picked Saquon Barkley number 2 as well because he was so good the year previous. But in the first round, you can't really go too wrong because ultimately you're going to get a pretty decent stud player.
Yeah,
and it's very very rare that that somebody at the back end of the first round picks somebody who's just complete trash. So. You think of Viv loves it, that's great. I love Derrick Henry and it worked out for me. Kamara's on the auto draft. Dalvin Cook I think was probably the value pick of the round because he was just a monster from the mid-season on. And then you look down the bottom there and you think, right, well...
No, Chubb was pretty good.
Chubb was great. I'm not going to let it. He was injured for a bit as well, and if he'd have been fit all year, then he would have been... in the same sort of league, I think, as we're talking about with Cook and Kamara. But a guy like Josh Jacobs was so frustrating all year because that offense was stuttering, and he was part of that. Mahomes is Mahomes.
But last year was the year he got a bit banged up.
Exactly that, and and for a large part, he was keeping Phil's team together.
Yeah. Again, kind of a lot like Josh Jacobs, had those good moments, but a lot of frustrating ones as well. Really the same for Miles Sanders, and I think Joe Mixon, when healthy, was very good.
He was, yes. Yeah. It didn't help when Joe Burrow got injured, but I think for something like that, so you when you pick someone like Clyde Edwards-Helaire, and then they turn it into a committee back towards the end of the year, with a rookie, there's always that kind of threat. Mm-hmm. So there's nothing good, nothing bad, but it is quite hilarious that obviously Ben traded up for a donkey, really.
Yeah, pretty much. Yeah.
Well, not a donkey. Christian McCaffrey's not a donkey.
No, he's not.
He's injured. He was injured last year. So someone who was just like, had one leg the whole year.
Speaking of one leg and injured, Michael Thomas was the 13th pick, first in round 2. Tom Tyrants took Devontae Adams at number 14. Number 15 was Julio Jones to the Detonators. 16 was DeAndre Hopkins to the Tuck Fards. 17, Tyreek Hill to Bucking the Trend. Kenyon Drake at 18 to Wild Gold. Travis Kelce at 19 to Ben Necessities. Aaron Jones also drafted at 20 to Ross's team. 21 was Lamar Jackson to Florida Flyers. 22 was Chris Godwin to the Dream Team. 23, Austin Eckler to Gridiron Gang. And 24, Chris Carson to Ixan. So
the injured. This is the injured.
The injured round. So I mean, of the guys who missed a fair amount of time, Michael Thomas, Julio Jones, Kenyon Drake. Did he get a bit banged up here and there? Yeah, he did because Chase Redman was starting.
The year,
Aaron Jones had a bit of an injury blip, but not too bad. Lamar Jackson had a COVID problem more than an injury problem. Austin Eckler as well, another guy in Gridiron Gang, literally
that's right. Chris Carson, who's always injured.
He got banged up as well. So a lot of injuries in this round too.
I think there's again, in hindsight, things are unlucky rather than bad. But you think of someone like Kenyon Drake, who was 18th overall, a bit of a punt really, because you never really expected him to do very much.
Mid-year trade from Miami the season before, and he did quite well in that. But he'd never been obviously a bell cow back or anything like that before. So
I at this point, I was thinking that Aaron Jones would go obviously before him, because you'd pick the Green Bay's running backs usually especially
going into the season though, there was still, because they still had I can't remember his name, the other running Jamal Williams. They still had Jamal Williams. Was last year the year they drafted that other rookie running back, AJ Dillon. So there was a lot. There was the upside. You're absolutely right. Was certainly there.
Yeah.
But there was also the risk element, which led to him falling to the auto drafted pick effectively. Yeah.
Yeah. It's a bold call. I can't believe Kelsey fell that far as well. Really. But look, so again, nothing good, nothing bad. I say for you, see, Eckler didn't work out at all because.
Well, he was very good when he was on the field. It was just he had that injury.
Exactly that. Yes, long term.
Yeah.
That's it. Didn't work out so well.
No. Yeah.
And same for Michael Thomas at the top. But again, you can't really say that's anything's particularly.
There's no flaming bust. Which actually, there is usually a flaming bust in the first couple of rounds somewhere. But really, I think it's a pretty solid.
Yeah, I mean, and say
just unfortunate with injuries
and very good value for the auto draft there as well.
Yeah, and I guess injuries made sense in the 2020 season where COVID had obviously very much affected the preseason and what these guys were able to do in practice, and injuries thus became more likely because it was more of the same going into the third round. Dak Prescott takes Sam at 25, Kenny Golladay at 26 to Gridiron Gang, George Kittle at 27 to the Dream Team, 28 James Conner to Ford Flyers, 29 Mike Evans to Ross's team, 30 was Jonathan Taylor to Ben Necessities, 31 Adam Thielen to your Gold, 32 Leonard Fournette to Bucking the Trend before he was a Buccaneer. Let's not forget he was a Jaguar at the time of this draft. Mark Ingram at 33 to the Tuck Fards, 34 was Odell Beckham Jr. to the Detonators, Todd Gurley at 35 to Tom's Tyrants, to 36 Murray Cooper to so again, many an injury in this round.
So many injuries in this round as well. And misfires as well. You think of the guys at the top there. Say Dak on fire until he gets injured. Golladay gets injured. Kittle gets injured. Connor, plays banged up most of the year. Mike Evans was good. Again for the order draft. That's it. Jonathan Taylor came good eventually. Thielen was good until they realised that Justin Jefferson was a sturd. Leonard Fournette in the wilderness for a long time, didn't do a great deal all year. Mark Ingram was a weird pick at that time.
That was widely. I think of the picks here, he had some okay games, but with I can't remember the rookie's name off the top of my head.
J.K. Dobbins,
that was
Gus Edwards, quite a few still, and besides Lamar can run too. So taking 33 overall was weird. And Todd Gurley and OBJ, and we mustn't forget that as well. But
Todd Gurley actually had a surprisingly good year. I think near the tail end of the season he kind of slowed down.
That's right.
And don't get me wrong, it was not an efficient year. It was not an efficient year. But the volume added up, and he got enough. He was a solid RB2 for much of the season.
That's right. I think you wouldn't. You certainly back having him over Mark Ingram at that same point.
100%.
So yes. You can say a lot of things here, but I mean, of the guys that we've just read out there, it's really only Mike Evans and Thielen.
In terms of very good, consistent season-long
were injury free.
And I think it is fair to say there probably is a contender in here for the first, I guess, bad pick of the draft in Mark Ingram at this point, because the tea leaves were saying stay very much away.
Absolutely, yeah. So that's a messy committee there, and so it happened.
Yeah,
and the thing is, they played him all year. He continued to play him all year. I guess because of this.
Again, he had a few good games, but certainly nothing to make up the vote for that third round pick. The interesting thing that we can see in hindsight now is we'll see my dad's strategy last year with the rookie running back didn't actually, if he'd have followed it through, it would have worked out very well. He did himself a disservice by going away from it, as we'll see later on. But he was onto something bizarrely with that. But on to round 4 then. So at 37 is AJ Brown, 38 was Allen Robinson, 39 Calvin Ridley, but then there's of course Jonathan Julio Jones as well in the second round. 40 was Juju Smith-Schuster to the Tuck Fathers, 41 was DK Metcalf to Bucking the Trend, 42 Cooper Kupp to our Gold, 43 Melvin Gordon to Bare Necessities, 44 Le'Veon Bell to Ross's team, 45 was DJ Moore to your team Chris, 46 was David Johnson to the Dream Team, 47 Robert Woods to Gridiron Gang, and 48 to Mark Andrews to Ixan. Now there was some actually pretty good value in this round.
AJ Brown and Allen Robinson at the top particularly.
Well, Calvin Ridley as well.
And DK Metcalf.
Who else had DJ Moore was okay.
DJ was okay, yeah. He got
Robert Woods was pretty good for me, and Mark Andrews provided some, a good solid squad player for Ixan. Yeah. So in terms of value, this round not too bad. And I don't think I'm going out on a limb saying maybe Juju Smith-Schuster is really the only one here who was, and Le'Veon Bell, complete disappointment.
Are you? This again. Are you really going to pick? I mean, I know at that point. It might have,
you've got the pick between Juju Smith-Schuster, who I had a year before was very frustrating with an aging Ben Roethlisberger, or you have an exciting DK Metcalf playing with Russell Wilson.
That's it, exactly that. That is it. And I'm amazed. Mike was amazed that it fell to him. So that DK Metcalf fell to him in that position, because I think anybody in that choice, you kind of know what you're going to be doing there, and say that. Fielded badly for reasons that were mostly his control last year, and we're trying to unpick why. Yeah, the two picks in the in some big rounds. So we've just seen one duffer. This one, with the emergence of other receivers.
Definitely. And if you take a quarterback high in the draft, and Phil took one very high, although it's Patrick Mahomes, it was very high for a quarterback you've absolutely got to nail these picks, because you are going to have absolutely no supporting cast.
Yeah, absolutely.
Which was the problem with Phil's team all year long.
Exactly that, and never really recovered. Right. But if we're talking about value, it's, as you say, I think DK Metcalf in that round turned out to be unbelievably good.
Yeah, the tail end was more solid than
exactly that. So the guys what you're going to get from, but and we mustn't forget AJ Brown was a stud as well.
Amazing, that was a great pick. Round 5 then, 49 we had Raheem Mostert to Ixan, Tyler Lockett at 50 to Gridiron Gang, 51 was Russell Wilson to the Dream Team, 52 DJ Chark to Ford Flyers.
This is the one.
53 was Stephon Diggs to Always Sunny in Philadelphia. 54 was Cam Akers to Bare Necessities. 55 Kyler Murray to our Gold. 56 T.Y. Hilton to Bucking the Trend. 57 Devin Singletary to the Tuck Cards. 58 Deshaun Watson to Detonators. 59 Brandon Cooks to Thomas Tyrants. And 60 was Courtland Sutton to Pakistan. Now this is a very mixed round indeed, isn't it, Chris?
Very. This is when I have sort of sleepless nights over, or did for a while, because I had the choice between DJ Chark and Stephon Diggs, and went the wrong way on that one.
But and again, you can understand that, because DJ Chark obviously coming off the really good season.
Yep.
Still looked to be the top dog on that Jags team, whereas Stephon Diggs obviously traded to Buffalo. And with Josh Allen, who up to that point hadn't really taken the step forward. People weren't really expecting that step forward on a run-heavy team with John Brown also there. So again, you look back and in hindsight, it's easy. You can see why he didn't do it, but it looks ridiculous.
It looks ridiculous now. That's it, and that's it. I can slag him off as much as I like, but I'm gonna slag myself off there. Russell Wilson at that point. Russell Wilson was was big point. A real heavy player in the first maybe 10 weeks of the season. It all went a bit downhill after that, but he was really keeping Viv alive in the first half of the year. Kyler Murray exactly the same. I mean, that was talking about QB value. That's big time there. Unfortunately, for Phil once again, didn't quite happen there.
This is another pick, like with the Mark Ingram one, where there's other guys nipping at the heels.
Yeah,
it's a running quarterback. Devin Singletary with Zach Moss in the backfield and Josh Allen, who we know he likes to run as well.
Yeah. Not really playing the percentages there, and bear in mind, I know there wasn't a great deal else on offer there. Think of the guys below him, but yeah, it's unfortunate. Yeah, so a guy like T.Y. Hilton goes quite high, but again didn't do a great deal most of the year either.
Yeah.
But yeah, we mustn't forget Raheem Mostert was also a decent pick from Ben at the
time. Yeah, he had some injury issues.
He did. But for when he played, he was the surefire RB1. So yeah, it was. It just again frustrating to see. Bearing in mind, you look here. A guy like David Montgomery again had his injury problems as we know, but if you're Phil and you're thinking, right, I've got a choice between a guy who's not got a great deal of Ron Jones was there too, same thing. Not got a great deal of support, and then you go for somebody like that.
And Keenan Allen had a great season.
Yes, which was largely which it did eventually. But we'll come on to that.
Round 6 then is 61 David Montgomery to Pakistan, 62 Keenan Allen to Tom's Tyrants, 63 Ronald Jones to the Detonators, 64 Zach Ertz to the Tugfards, 65 Philip Lindsay to Bucking the Trend, 66 Marquis Brown to Your Gold, 67 Devontae Parker to Bare Necessity, 68 the auto draft pick of Aaron Rodgers to Ross's team, 69 Terry McLaurin to Forge Flyers, 70 AJ Green to the Dream Team, 71 Michael Gallup to Gridiron Gang, and 72 was Dan Roller.
Excellent down there.
So there was some maybe one or two gems here, and then some solid players, and then some not so good.
Indeed.
So right at the top, you've got the 3 solid guys. Once again, Phil going with very much it's name value, I suppose. Phil was, and again Zach Ertz, with Dallas Goedert there, and the team. They just didn't turn it around. It was a bad early young, and obviously it's never a great year either. I mean, Lindsay, that was a head scratcher at the time with Melvin Gordon in town, as well as did they draft the guy last year? I can't remember. Was there?
No, I don't. I can't. I can't remember who it was. But
again, the tea leaves are there to say that Phil Lindsay wouldn't have a great season. Marquis Brown, I think again, it was just that they threw it to the Titans quite a lot. He didn't really establish himself much as an outfield.
Hugely run heavy team as well. Yes, it's and when they do throw, I mean, yes, they do go long, but they didn't quite go that way.
No. But there was some nice value in the back end of this round. Devontae Parker had some good weeks for the Dolphins.
He did, yeah, agreed.
Aaron Rodgers was not a draft pick, but was the MVP.
Yeah.
Terry McLaurin was a great pick for you. I remember being quite upset that he didn't fall 2 picks further to me. With Michael Gallup. He was okay before Dak went down, but after that, very, very
I was amazed Terry McLaurin ended up going that far, to be honest. I really did.
And then Darren Waller, there was a bit of some snickering and jeering when Ben selected his second tight end. Obviously, already had Mark Andrews. I think I didn't mind the Darren Waller pick there. We'll come on to the other things that transpired with the Titans in a bit, but Darren Waller was a good value.
At that position, Darren Waller was great and better than, I would say, all but 2 of the receivers that went earlier on in this round.
Yeah. But then, we look at the downsides here as well, and I think, again, contender for one of the worst picks of the draft has to be AJ Green by Viv. Entering the season, was it last year where he had the injury problem coming into? Or was that the year before?
It was the year before. It was the year that my took. It was his first year. He had the whole year out. Yeah.
This year, I mean, he's always banged up, but he just wasn't ineffective. There were actually some guys around him in the offense. There was Tyler Boyd,
T. Higgins,
and they just usurped AJ Green, and it's one of those picks that was your backing on a guy to get back to what he was instead of someone rising through the ranks.
Exactly
as with some of these other picks like Mclaurin. Not that the Viv had a chance to take Mclaurin, obviously, but rough pick.
I say exactly that, and I say it's here that you do find either your surprise value, which I think that. I
mean, they're still starters at this point, so we look at rounds 1 to 5 as you need to nail it. Really, you need to get to round 6 because that is the starting lineup with the quarterback and the 5 skill position.
Exactly that.
If you do a good first 6, you're set.
Yeah, I see it 100%. And there'll always be somebody from this round on that comes out and you think, wow, that's genius. But actually, at the time, either you take a bit of a flyer on them or what.
Yeah.
But again, sometimes the writing's on the wall with certain teams, and I think that's where when you do your prep, you have to really look into it more because year on year teams change. So lots of different variables change, whether that be offensive coordinator, whether it be coaching changes, player movements. Yeah, exactly that. And one player from one team to another can be radically different.
Yeah.
So
definitely.
I think that sometimes being lazy coming into a draft just really affects you, especially in these rounds.
Yeah, round 7. So we are going to start to see some ugliness, but also some niceness in the same breath. So Ixan selecting his 3rd tight end. Pick 73, Jared Cook. 74 was Will Fuller to Gridiron Gang. 75 was Kareem Hunt to the Dream Team. 76, Julian Edelman to Forge Flyers. 77, Marlon Mack to Ross's team. 78 was DeAndre Swift to Ben Necessities, the 3rd rookie running back by this point in the draft for Ben Necessities. 79, Jordan Howard to our Golds. 80 was Marvin Jones to Bucking the Trend. 81, Sony Michel to the Tark Farts. 82, Tyler Boyd to Bedadnators. 83, Nicole Hardman to Thomas Torrance. And 84, Debo Samuel to Palestine. So a very mixed bag around here.
Very. And you think of like a guy like Jared Cook goes at the top of the round. I think at the time we all thought that probably.
It was another one of those guys who, like you were just saying, the year before he did really good. He was hyper efficient.
Yeah,
I remember because I had him as a free agent.
Big red zone target. Yeah,
and he was just getting, and you just kind of knew with Drew Brees being a year older and not being quite as aggressive as he used to be. The tea leaves were there for Jared Cook.
Yeah, exactly that. And so he's a reliable streamer, but is it a guy you draft at that point, top around?
When you have a Will Fuller available, who went on to have a great season as
exactly that,
or a Kareem Hunt, who was part of a prolific tandem in Cleveland.
Yes, 100%. So, perhaps not that. So I think the Edelman pick in hindsight again wasn't great for me. So they didn't throw much. When they did throw, it wasn't great. And he was injured most of the year as well, so that certainly didn't work. And
it was another COVID interrupting it, where I came up to the point where he got COVID. Playing really well. After that point, he even said himself just kind of fell behind. The team kept adding stuff. Obviously, this was his first year in the system as well, and it just like you say, it was just went south from there, and the injury woes certainly piled up.
It didn't work. That's it. Again, and then there's a lot of guys that just didn't work for one reason or another. That's it. Marlon Mack
injury again.
Yeah, absolutely.
DeAndre Swift was good, but again, like with Cam Akers, Ben Necessities didn't see it through.
No, exactly that. So had they have done so, they'd have been prolific at the end of the year. Marvin Jones had a good, decent year, nice and solid. Sony Michel, again, not great for Phil.
Yep.
Tyler Boyd was the pick of the round for me, though. He was the value.
Well, Debo Samuel as well had some great.
Yes, was, but he did have some. But was Brandon Ayuk better at the end? I think he was, and I think Tyler Boyd showed himself as the until Joe Burrow went down. Yeah, definitely number one receiver in that in Cincinnati, and made him look exciting again, which is which is good to see.
Nice,
so from absolute like train wreck of a franchise, it's not bad. So
for sure.
Especially down there, that was good.
On to round 8 then, which was we could probably call the quarterback round, because at the top we have 85 Drew Brees to Palestine, 86 Tom Brady to Tom's Tyrants, 87 was Jalen Reagor to Bedadnators, 88 the first defense off the board. Phil loves the Baltimore Ravens defense.
Takes them twice.
89 was Matt Ryan to Bucking the Trend, 90 was Evan Ingram to our Gold, 91 another rookie running back in J.K. Dobbins, the 4th to Ben Necessities. 92 was Rob Gronkowski, auto-drafted to Ross's team. 93, Deontay Johnson to Forge Flies. 94, Jarvis Landry to the Dream Team. 95, Carson Wentz to Gridiron Gang. And 96, Jamison Crowder to Xan. Not a lot to be excited about here. Some good quarterback picks, but definitely not all of them.
No, you look at Brady there. A lot of guys just didn't. We didn't really know where he'd be this in that coming year, and it turned out that he was quite unbelievable. For the age that he is. So he went to win the Super Bowl, but it did have a great regular season. It took a while to get going, but once they did, and you can't really fail with those guys around you. So he had some serious talent. Again, Drew Brees over Brady.
It was tough because
Brees
was the difficulty was obviously Brady's first year in Tampa. You didn't know, coming out of a system that he thrived in for years and years and years, you didn't exactly know what would happen. But Drew Brees again, it was that steady decline that you saw.
Yeah, exactly.
And he still had a good season. Let's not say he had a bad season, but and obviously he got injured as well.
Yep.
Which didn't help. But yeah,
it's a big issue there. I mean, and it creates a problem for you instantly.
Yeah. Even Matt Ryan, like again, who surrounded with Cam Ridley, Julio Jones.
Yep.
It was a good offense. And
absolutely.
Hayden Hurst, was it? They had the tight end.
Tight end, yes, yep. Absolutely. Yeah. So, and they throw a lot because they're always behind.
Yes.
You look at guys. Yeah. See, the auto draft of Gronk's too high for me.
Yeah.
Evan Ingram's perhaps a little bit too high for me. And Crowder down there as well. So I know that there was not a lot else to throw to there, and he did have some good weeks, but.
Like I say, it was more of a streamer type guy.
Exactly.
I think Ben did cut him. I'm pretty sure he was on my team for quite a while, but we'll see. Hopefully in the season review. Round 9 then was 97 Kerryon Johnson to Ixan. 98 was Zach Moss to Gridiron Gang. 99 the 49ers D to the Dream Team. 100 was Steelers D to you, Chris. 101 was Hunter Henry, auto drafted to Ross's team. 102 was Josh Allen to Ben Estes. 103 was Anthony Miller to your gold. 104 Austin Hooper to Buck and Trend. That was the Atlanta tight end, not Hayden Hurst. 105 was Emmanuel Sanders to the Tampa Falcons.
He was the uniform.
Yeah. 106 was Buffalo to Bedednators. 107 Antonio Gibson to Tom's Tyrants, and 108 Tevin Coleman to Pat Sand. So again, there's actually some really nice value picks here.
Absolutely.
Not so much at the top end. Hunter Henry, a good auto draft. Your clap applause of Josh Allen, rightfully so. Obviously went on to have a great year.
Yep.
Would have been on the back end of the single digits of quarterbacks drafted in this draft. And then Antonio Gibson and Tevin Coleman, 2 great picks as well.
100%. That's it. I mean, I think we know what the value pick of the draft is. Is it Josh Allen where he was?
Well,
picked?
I was going to say Antonio Gibson because he was big for Tom's Tyrants.
He was great.
To get it, but
he wasn't as good as Josh Allen.
Yeah, but it's a quarterback versus a running back. Hit on a running back here versus a quarterback.
Nah. That's it. Antonio Gibson was great. Don't get me wrong. But Antonio Gibson was a great pick. Not gonna lie, that was great. But Josh Allen was the number two quarterback last year, and he scored 469 points. 469 points.
Yeah. I suppose. Yeah. Okay. The problem is you look at the upside versus because even if you look at the 12th QB, what's it? Let's draw the line at Kirk Cousins because he's something like 376. Okay, it's just under 100 points spread over a number of weeks. Antonio Gibson, where did he end up finishing? This is obviously I'm interested in
the points he did score. 166 overall, right? Yeah. So bear in mind that let's have a look at the first round quarterbacks and the first round running backs that went.
So we have if we go down. So Henry, Kamara, Cook 3. Taylor 4, Jones 5, 6, Montgomery 7, James Robinson 8, Josh Jacobs 9, Chubb 10, Hunt 11, Elliott 12, Drake 13, Gord. So he was the 14th highest scoring running back.
Yeah. That's it. But bearing in mind that 7 of them went in the first round. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, I get it. I say I'm not saying he's a bad pick by any means. I'm just saying that Josh Allen was
a very good pick. Yeah.
I think catalyst for why Ben Estes was so good. And why Tom's Tyrants were also good, but and you sure. And this is exactly what I said earlier on, is that you find these guys that come out of nowhere.
Yeah.
But yeah, I mean, you look at comparison here. He went in the 9th round last year. In contrast to this year, Josh Allen is a borderline 2nd round pick.
Yeah, for sure.
And that to me is the value. But yeah, I mean, that's it. The worst pick of the lot there is probably Zach Moss, who did nothing all year, despite the fact that...
Oh, no, he had some good weeks.
Come on.
He had some good weeks. Yeah. Yeah, because I cut him and he went to your gold and he actually started doing some pretty well.
He didn't do a lot for the first
half. And is it a worst pick in the 9th round? Like, hold on.
Well, not in the 9th round, that's it. It's... I'd say that he didn't score as many as they expected last year.
Well, he was in a timeshare with...
right.
Some nice weather. He was in a timeshare with... a Singletary as well. Let's see.
I can't remember having over a 10-point game.
Oh yeah, he definitely had over a 10-point game. That's just sad.
How many times?
You got to take a pot of those rookie running backs as well, right? So
let's score.
We don't have the game log, so we're gonna have to go to Zach.
There we go. We're gonna prove it.
There you go. fantasy data isn't going to let us down.
Come
How could
on.
you with a website?
Here we go.
such as that?
Fantasydata.com. There we go.
So points. So
He had one 20-point game. He had one
12 point.
That's it. I'm not having that. That's it. But then he also had a 1-point game on how many occasions?
He was injured though.
I don't care. That's it. You know, look at it. Look, yeah, that's it. So 2-point game, 1-point game, 1-point game. Anything begins with a 1, he had that at least 5
Of the
times.
picks you're going to pick out in round 9, that's awful. Taking a chance on a rookie running back as opposed to drafting Kerryon Johnson. Or Emmanuel Sanders.
Forgot about him. That's it. All right. That's it. We're gonna tie it.
I'm not having the.
We're gonna tie with Emmanuel Sanders. All right. That's it. Emmanuel Sanders.
Kerryon Johnson. Are you kidding? What did Kerryon Johnson do last year?
So did he score as many 1-point games as Zach Moss did? Did Kerryon Johnson have one 20-point game? Because if he did, then he's exactly the same. He's the same guy.
Objectively far worse. Not a single post over 10-point game, whereas that must have 3.
Fair enough. I'll go with that. All right, that's it. Fair enough.
And unlike Phil, Ben had the chance to take.
How many did? It's true. How many did Emmanuel Sanders score last year? I want to see that. This is going to be.
Let's have a look, shall we?
You dropped him though, so you obviously didn't. You didn't back him that much.
I think no. Well, I think after a point,
he scored the 20-point game after you dropped.
I mean, my dad dropped 3 running backs, so if you're going to come after you for dropping 1.
It's true. But then I'll go after Dave because he picked them all up in the rounds previous to this.
Yeah, and then still dropped them.
Still dropped them anyway.
Sanders had 3 over 10-point games.
Oh, fair enough.
Only just over 10 points. You can see
he had more 0.
Oh, sorry, actually no, 4. He had 4.
He also had 2 half-point games. So okay, all right.
Yeah.
Point kind of proven.
Yeah, okay.
Kind of.
Round 10 then. Darius Slayton to Pakistan at 109. 110 was Henry Ruggs III to Thomas Torrance. 111 was CeeDee Lamb to Bednaders. 112, Adrian Peterson to the Tuckfards. 113 was N'Keal Harry to the Bucking the Trend. 114, Jono Smith to UL Gold. That was a good pick.
Fan of that. 115,
Matthew Stafford to BNSS's. 116, Matt Brader auto-drafted to Ross's team. 117, Jerry Jeudy to your team. 118, Alexander Madison to the Dream Team. 119, Starting Shep to Gridiron Gang. And 120, Patriots D. Dixon.
I'm not going to slag any defense picks up at this point because you just, you have to.
Well, you can't really slag any pick off at round 10. It would have to be something objectively hilarious.
Yeah.
To be a bad pick at this point.
N'Keal Harry was not great.
That's if you're gonna critic. Yeah, that's because 2 years he hadn't done much. Obviously with the way the Patriots offense was as well, he wasn't the top option either. So
that's it.
Jono Smith was a good pick.
Jono Smith was great at that point, and CeeDee Lamb was good at that point.
Yes,
as well.
he was. Yeah, no, they both were.
He was great.
Again, affected when Prescott went down.
Absolutely.
But, up to that point, very good. We'll go on to round 11 then.
There's no laughable ones here.
No. Mike Williams to Ixan, 121. Sorry, Preston Williams to Gridiron Gang at 122. Deshaun Jackson at 123 to the Dream Team. Brandon Ayuk at 124 to Forge Flyers. 125 was Latavius Murray, auto-drafted to Ross's team. 126, the Saints D to Bare Necessities. 127, the Bears D to UR Gold. 128, Chargers D to Bucking the Trend. 129, Tyler Eifert to the Tuckfards. 130, Harrison Bucket to Bednaders. 131, Jeremy McKinnon to Tom Starrance. And 132, Justin Jackson, Pakistan. Mike Williams was an okay pick at this point. He obviously had some very good games with Justin Herbert. Brandon Ayuk as well was a good player through the year. Did you hold on to him?
I wish I did.
Yeah.
So I dropped him halfway through the year, and I shouldn't have done.
No.
Which was a bit dumb.
But yeah, you rightly jeered Tyler Eifert, which was again a resoundingly negative pick on draft day.
We did wonder why he was even drafted, to be honest. And so it turned out because I bet Tyler Eifert probably didn't have that many high scoring games. In fact, he probably didn't get.
We're not even gonna look it up.
He hardly got a play. I can tell you now that it's gonna be a poor stat run. But anyway, that's definitely.
And I think he had. Did he have his injury problems as well? I can't remember.
He was
that invisible.
He always does.
He may as well be. Yeah.
Yeah.
Round 12 then was 133. Justin Tucker to Pakistan. 134. Will Lutz to Thomas Torrance. 135. Cam Newton to Bednaders, but he was cut. quite early on. 136 was Justin Jefferson to the Tuck Fards.
Hoorah.
But he wasn't kept by the team, I don't believe. 137 was Greg Zerline to Bucking the Trend. 138 Joe Burrow to our gold. 139 Alan Lazard to Ben Necessities. 140 the Chiefs D to Ross's team. 141 Matt Gay to Forge Flyers. 142 Matt Prater to the Dream Team. Robbie Gold at 143 to Gridiron Gang. And 144 was Zane Gonzalez to Ixan. So Justin Jefferson would have been probably a contender for pick of the draft had Phil held on to him.
That's it. Phil's on something. Then he gave him to his mate Pat.
Yeah.
And, well,
who he used to beat him twice.
Indeed. So there you go. Joe Burrow would have been good as well. I think at that point, so you take a bit of a Florida rookie QB
for sure,
especially their first overall that year. But
Alan Lazard had some good games as well. I think when Adams had some nagging injury problems at times. So
I dropped Matt Gay immediately. So there you go. That was worth it.
But it's round 12. That's fine.
Who cares?
Round 13, the final round then. 145 was James White to Ixan. 146 the Colts D to Gridiron Gang. 147 Alshon Jeffrey to the Dream Team. 148 Hayden Hurst to Forge Flyers. 149 was Young Kwei Koo to Ross's team auto draft, but again he didn't keep him. 150 Kami Fairbairn to Ben Necessities. 151 Chris Boswell to Your Gold. 152 LaShawn McCoy to Bucking the Trend. 153 Jake Elliott to the Tugfards. 154 Michael Pittman to Bedernayers. 155 the Eagles D to Tom Sorensen. 156 Jake Butt to Pastan. There is pretty much absolutely nothing of note in this.
It could have been better for Ross. This is what I can tell you. If he kept Young Wei Koo, I mean, can you imagine? He would have wrapped it up much earlier, because that guy was, the standout kicker last year. I think it's probably fair to say.
Yeah, to Tom's delight. So I think best pick of the draft then, Josh Allen.
For me, it's Josh Allen. So for you, it's Antonio Gibson, because you've.
No, we'll go with Josh Allen. I think they're both very good.
You nailed your flag to the mast.
No, I was adding some journalistic counterbalance.
I see, okay.
Because I wanted that pick to get enough light shone on it, because that was also an excellent pick.
It was excellent.
Did not receive a clap while I was calling it out, and it should have done.
Well, I mean, people can clap at home, but taking Josh Allen at that point, I mean, come on. In hindsight, that was it. If this year goes in the second round, then we'll think Dave.
Where's Antonio Gibson going to go though?
Antonio Gibson's going to go in the second round as well.
Yeah, possibly creep into the back end of the
perhaps.
first.
Yeah,
so.
It's exactly
both very good. Picks,
both very good.
We'll give Josh Allen the best, and then the worst. I hate to say it, I'm just going to go on Phil's team, and it's got to be one of them, because I don't think some
Mark Ingram in whatever round he drafted him. Third round, man.
It's
considering what else you could have had in the third round.
Yeah.
I mean,
I think for the opportunity of what you could add, because Mark Ingram again. If we look at Mark Ingram fantasy 2020,
I'm not having that. That's he stuck with him all year, and we wondered, what are you doing?
He did have some good game. It was quite a very inconsistent play.
Look at that.
1 14-point game, so it's got to be Mark Ingram.
Mark Ingram in the third round was not a good return.
No, so that's the worst pick of the draft, and rightfully so. But that moves us on nicely then to the season review. So we'll do what we do. Usually we'll look at the regular season, and then we'll look at from bottom to the top, and just so we'll keep the draft here as well, just so we can have that. But then we can also look at the roster on the final day as well and how it compared. So if we have the by team view here, so we'll start with the Tuck Fards. Obviously, no surprises. We were looking through there. The 3-11 season all in all, obviously had a span of 9 losses to lose the season. Bizarrely, they actually started pretty well. If we go on to the schedule here,
yes, they bloody did. So
to begin with, we were like, okay, feel good as ever, but it quickly fell away because it was all down to Patrick Mahomes. So where have we got Tuck Fards here? So win in week 1 by the skin of his teeth. And then a few okay weeks, but then really after week 5, you can see it was all downhill there. Didn't top 80 points for the rest of the season. Didn't top 78 points for the rest of the season.
Wow.
That's hard to do. And, even if you've got a bag of crap, if you play the over enough well, it's usually... And it's not like his team was completely devoid of talent. You have Mahomes, you had DeAndre Hopkins, he had Chase Claypool, who obviously he had as well as Juju Smith-Schuster, which isn't great. But you just look at the other... There was absolutely nothing around that throughout the whole season. And obviously those guys just didn't click along with Mahomes at the right time whole season long, and it just led to a sorry year for
100%. Yes, and it's not the way you want to see it go. He didn't play the waivers a great deal. He didn't change the team a great deal. We went through this quite a lot last year, and you reap what you sow, I'm afraid. So if you don't try, you don't really win. So, that's not strictly true. But yeah, in this occasion, yes, it's the wrong players were picked at the wrong time in the draft. He didn't give himself a solid foundation. You can't just ride 3 players all year and expect it to happen every single time. Phil been doing that for
and the Chase credit we could do. Chase Claypool was a good pickup.
Absolutely,
but that wasn't that was the exception rather than
it was a reactionary pickup as well because he had one great game
and he's got Juju.
And that as well. That's it.
On a Steelers team that, let's face it, while they were undefeated, weren't exactly
it was
an offensive dynamo.
It was their defense. So look, it's a problem when Emmanuel Sanders is your effectively your second receiver. So sorry end to the year, but never mind. It was a problem that was mainly of his own making. Yeah,
for sure. We go to Gridiron Gang next, who an improvement on the years before, 5-9, but bottom of the division, 11th place finish. If we look at the team, it's going to be immediately apparent that injuries derailed what could have otherwise been a good season. Obviously, I had Drew Brees by the end of it, added on waivers as well. Mike Davis, who will probably be inducted into my Ring of Honor.
Absolutely right, yes.
Austin Eckler, again, when he was healthy, he was great. Robert Woods as well was a good pick. I don't even remember having Marvin Jones, but he made his way onto my team at some point because Kenny Golladay obviously had his injury issues.
Yep.
As did DeAndre Swift, and Tyler Lockett and Will Fuller obviously really buoyed my team with those high injuries. But those injuries were just too much to overcome, I think, weren't they, Chris?
I think there was just too many. Yes, right. Absolutely. To key players at the key times, and when that happens, you tend to lose more than you win.
Yeah.
It's a reasonably low point scored as well.
Definitely.
So you're not much different to Phil. I think there's sort of like 73 point difference I think between the two.
77 points more. Yep.
So 77 points. So it's again, not a great year, but again, that was less of your doing and more of the injuries.
And this is the difference between mine and Phil's team. Phil's team, as we saw, didn't post over 77 points or whatever. It was a 9-game losing streak. My team was still largely competitive for much of the year. Down the stretch, you can see it definitely fell away, where those injuries certainly took their toll, and the waiver patching can only do so much. But I kept it going together really until week 9, and that's where it kind of just fell away at the end.
You're in a tough division as well, so there was 3 good teams in there.
Definitely, on their day, certainly.
And it took Tom a long time to get going. But when he did, then it was difficult to beat him. So it matters what division you land in, because you look at where Phil was, and you had 3 reasonably.
They were average. They were okay teams.
Yeah, exactly. Okay, but nothing to blow the house down. Whilst it was clear that there was a bit of a devoid of difference in ability between the guys that you had to bring in versus the guys that you were playing against.
For sure. And then nicely, the 3 bottom tier teams were all spread among the divisions, because Ixan was the next lowest ranked team. They finished 10th overall in the league with a 6-8 record in the end. First year, Ben hasn't had, I think, either at parity or winning record since for 7 years, so breaking that streak. But it had to come at some point, and still to go 6-8, and effectively be only 2 wins outside of a playoff berth. Still not a bad result. If we take a look over at Ben's season and his team, if we bring it up over here, so. Obviously, quarterback, as we were saying all season long, Cousins did have his weeks, but was an inconsistent option, shall we say. Injury bugged Ben a bit as well with Chris Carson. Christian McCaffrey, of course, the main reason. It's really hard to overcome having the first overall pick in the draft and then not winning it. Obviously, the tight end carousel, I think by the end of it, only Mark Andrews. Mark Andrews and Darren Waller obviously stayed on the team but did a good job. You can see Mark Andrews, though, with a fairly low point total, so that didn't help. But he did have some nice pickups. So he picked up Chase Edmonds, Brandon Ayuk, Giovanni Bernard, of course, made his way back to Ixan as he always does.
Miles Gaskin was there.
Yeah, Miles Gaskin. So he did a good job of piecing things together and keeping it going. You look at his scores, again, through the first 4 weeks was solid, and that's when things started to go very, very wrong. No doubt this is probably when Christian McCaffrey got injured. Because you can see after that point, only one over 100-point game for the rest of the year, only 3 over 90 over that span. So what did you make of Ben's?
Yeah, it's very up and down. Again, when you have your first round pick, I've had this before, then it really does derail your season.
Yeah.
And especially when your backups, as it were, but yes, the guys that you otherwise would rely on, you then have to rely on a guy like Chris Carson who's in and out of the team because he's injured.
Mm-hmm.
You rely on 2 tight ends, and then you have to rebuild your team from scratch. That's not easy. So yeah, but he did do an admirable job of doing that week in, week out. To get to 6 wins from that, okay, it's not bad.
Yeah.
And because he did the research and played the waivers and played it well, good fill-in players like Gaskin and, dare I say it, Giovanni Bernard, who did score 111 points.
When Joe Mixon went down, he was definitely a viable option.
Yeah, exactly that. So yeah, and say spot starts here and there. We haven't got time to go through every week, but yeah, that's how I remember playing or reporting on Ben last year. So you can go back and listen to it if you so wish.
Yeah,
to see. And yeah, it's it. Playing the waivers and spot starting just randomers seemed to get him by.
Which you have to do a lot, and to his credit, he never put up really that much embarrassing score totals. He had a couple of 50 burgers, but other than that,
no,
he did have a few very, very kind wins in this span.
There are 2 Gypsy wins in week 6 and 7, where he wins somehow by scoring 60 points.
But one of them's against Phil, so I suppose the only one is really bucking the trend there.
Yeah.
Our 9th ranked team last year then was Palestine, who was right at parity, so it's a bit unfortunate to be ranked 9th and you have a 7-7 season. That was the, I guess, lack of an upside to counterbalance the low records we had last year. But 9th seed for Palestine, only 1 win away from a playoff spot, let's not forget. But 7-7, let's take a look at his team. Had an okay year, but again, it was one that he never really got going properly, did he? He picked up Ryan Tannehill, which was a great add. Obviously, he had a great season. Yeah. Losing Michael Thomas for much of the year obviously hurt, and then he wasn't an impact when he came back. He obviously absolutely nailed some draft picks with David Montgomery and A.J. Brown. Justin Jefferson was obviously a terrific pickup, and Amari Cooper was a good player for him too. Again, he was a player that had those injury problems and played through them. And Joe Mixon, obviously, as well, when he was on the field, pretty good, but
not consistent enough.
Not consistent enough. There wasn't enough oomph to get Palestine past some of the things that knocked him back.
Yeah, absolutely right. And say that, and at the beginning of the season, I thought that Pat had one of the best receiving corps in the league.
I think we were all thinking out.
I was definitely on the case with that.
Yeah, that was it. And it was the slow start to the season that really, to be honest, it did very good to get back to 7-7.
Yeah.
First 3 weeks of the season, 250 burgers, and the other one was not even an 80-point game. Finally got on the board in week 4 with a good score, and then it was kind of bouncing between thereafter. You can see obviously too much of a mountain to climb. He gave it a great effort, rolling 4 wins out of the last 5 weeks to make it interesting.
And then lost by half a point on the last day, which was just unbelievable.
And I don't think that half a point wouldn't have made a difference for playoff ramifications, because Ollie was the 8-6 team who had the superior point total.
Yes.
But he wouldn't be 9th, he'd be 5th.
Yes,
if he'd had that half point.
And that's why it's so tough, And so, but again, injuries, it's a key player has wrecked his season. What we didn't pick up though and what we can do in this is some of the really great waiver drip pickups, because
for sure.
Guys that didn't get drafted. I think Tannehill with AJ Brown was a sensible move.
A great stack.
At the week 4-5 when they realised that they were the real deal that year. David Montgomery, we spoke about earlier on as a value draft pick. You look at that with his 210 points, and it really does anchor, that team. With with Michael Thomas being out, Cooper being injured a little bit, Debo being out, Mixon being out particularly. that was necessary.
Yeah.
Obviously, AJ Brown was one of the top receivers in fantasy last year. Justin Jefferson, again, I mean, Phil must be sick of that.
You hate to see
you really
nearly
do.
190-point player
100%.
drafted in the 11th round.
Yes,
and not on your team.
I think it was even less than that. I think it was in the 15th, wasn't it? It was the last round, 13th
12th or 13th.
Yeah,
yeah.
The last round of the draft. But again, out of the waiver wire. Deontay Johnson, I dropped him as well, and Pat picked him up. And it was really good for him too. So yeah, I think this is probably where we can turn around and say, when you actually play the game and you pick up guys and you see who's available and take advantage. Even if you have a terrible start, there's no way there's obviously every way you can get it back.
Oh yeah, you can certainly.
And there are a few teams like that in this little span. Where I think it's going to be a pretty much similar
small
story.
Margins when it comes down to one win rate. So we'll take a look at the Dream Team next, who's 8th at 7-7 as well.
This one wasn't.
So he actually came out of the blocks absolutely firing. You can see first 4 weeks, all wins, all over 100 points. By the end of week 8, they did drop a couple, but only 1 week were they below 100 points. So sitting at 6-2. Going into week 9, you're going to say, wow, I'm pretty much there. But yeah, an almighty collapse. And when we go onto the team, I'm sure it'll become evident why. You can see that they didn't have a 100-point game for the rest of the season there. They only had 2 weeks over 90 as well. And only 1 win after week 9, which was, week 8, which was their downfall. Looking at the team, you mentioned it during the best and worst draft picks. Russell Wilson was great to start the year, but he definitely cooled as the season went on. And then really, it's a bunch of solid guys there, but no one particularly spectacular. Kareem Hunt may be the one exception, but George Kittle with his injury worries as well. Ezekiel Elliott, again, was a solid guy, but he definitely wasn't that spectacular guy last season. Very inefficient.
100%.
Again, not helped by the Dak Prescott injury. Chris Godwin had his injury problems too. So a middling side at the end of it.
Yeah, I totally agree, and that was the problem. Is that you look at that at the end, and with guys like Corey Davis and J.D. McKissick, and who, by the way, weren't bad.
Oh no,
but and say weren't bad spot starts, but again, not guys you can rely on week in, week out. His big guns just let him down a little bit in the last half of the season. Not having Kittle for a long time in the season, would have pushed him along a little bit.
Mm-hmm.
As you say, Zeke in comparison to a guy like the top guys, and bearing in mind that he was drafted before Derrick Henry in the draft, and Kamara and Cook, wasn't a great return for the third overall. Unfortunately, that was the Achilles heel all year. Was that capping of points? Kareem Hunt did well. He scored 180 points for the year, but only in a very short period of time while Nick Chubb was injured. Yeah. And after that, he wasn't the same guy again, because he wasn't getting the same kind of volume. That pushes you along. But this is the thing about this game, is that when you realise that a guy's time is up, you've got to get in, get rid, and get on. Mm-hmm. And there is absolutely no time for loyalty, because a lot of times when you're the backup and a guy comes back in, they're in for a reason. They're going to be fit. Yeah. So be that as a lesson for this season. Really,
definitely
is that if your team's cooling, you've got to get on that waiver wire.
Yeah, and obviously, sadly, we're not unfamiliar with the Dream Team collapse. It usually comes nearer the end of the season in the playoffs, but much like Phil when he gets to the playoffs. But it happened a bit too early for last season.
100%.
On to the next team, which is basically the complete polar opposite. And again, Tom isn't strange to this. He finished as the middle of the league overall, 7th, with a 7-7 record as well. But first 5 weeks of the season went 0-5. I remember on the podcast we were saying the team wasn't as bad as it was doing. You can see in the points there, they only had 1 week below 89 points. So definitely not deserving of an 0-5. And to bring that back to 7-7, you're going, what's that? 7-2 across the rest of the season.
Crazy.
You can see it was an absolute steamrolling. Now there is going to be one big factor that we will see when we look at that. But you can see the number of 100-point games there, and it was just the tail end that let them down. Last 3 weeks of the season didn't top 84. Lost 2 games where they only put 68, 4 and 68. So Tom, sorry, that's week 15. So it was the week 13 that really cost him. but Ben did post a good score there as well. So we look at Tom's team. Look, he drafted very well. Brady, Robinson, Sanders, Allen, Adams, great draft picks. Justin Herbert, absolutely terrific pickup, and Antonio Gibson we already talked about as well. Gurley was also a solid player. It was just that brutal start where they just faced too many high-scoring teams that cost Tom Stones. It was nothing to do with them.
No, 100%. 100%. And this is exactly what I was saying before, is that he felt his team wasn't quite right. Made some changes, and that really did have one hell of a shot in the arm for him. You look at guys that you can rely on week in week. Devontae Adams had a great year. Keenan Allen didn't have a great year, but as we'll find out in a moment, that's it. Had an improvement, shall we say, thanks to a team doctor in Los Angeles. Say Robinson, Sanders. You can't really argue with the solidity of that team.
It's almost whose team was it that was very solid? Was it Pat's team that we said it was quite solid but not spectacular? It's almost the same. And the problem with Tom's team, it's funny to say it's a problem because they were very hard done by those first 5 weeks. But you must say when you have so many solid guys on your team, you don't want to drop one of them because they're obviously far too valuable to go and get something else.
Exactly that.
You've got to make a trade, but then...
It's very easy at this point to go like, X, Y, this guy scored this amount of points over the course of the year. It's what they score per week that does it. So, if they're scoring 10 points a week on average, but the rest of your guys aren't doing that, they're up and down, whatever. So 30 points one week.
He obviously did have a selection challenge where you can see the 5 guys starting there. Okay, Gronkowski as well. You've got Antonio Gibson and Gurley on the bench. Like you say, it becomes a coaching thing. I don't think I will have a look off screen. I don't think we have the coach score for Tom, but it would be interesting to see what that would have been.
If it was on the how many they got left on the bench. But what we can say is that, and this podcast predicted it. Don't know about any other podcasts out there, but we did. That when Justin Herbert comes in and then say everyone can have the opportunity because he was on that waiver wire for such a long time. Yeah. When he came in, he made that team electric, and I know that he stacked him with Keenan Allen, and it made a world of difference to his per week score because he got it right. He got it right, and that was the single greatest thing I think that happened to him this year is that he had Brady who was doing all right, but all right wasn't quite enough each week because. The supporting cast.
Brady was a bit inconsistent. He had the high overall at the end, but obviously it was very up and down just as he was learning the system.
And then Justin Herbert comes in and scores you 30 points just from him a week, and that's what pushes a lot of your scores over that line. So I remember being like really jet lagged in a hotel room, and like must be 2 years ago. It was 2 years ago in September. And there was an Oregon game was on TV, and I just watched it because there was nothing else to do at like 5 o'clock in the morning on ESPN. Showing college football highlights, and he was on like, and I think the big thing was like, which one of them will translate that sort of form over, unbelievable form over to the big leagues. Obviously, Joe Burrow did, Tua hasn't, and Justin Herbert has, and sometimes it just takes you watching a guy rather than just relying on hearsay.
Mm-hmm. Though I will say on Tua, I can't remember, I think it was probably around the NFL podcast, when Herbert does something like he did, everyone looks at Tua and is like, garbage. Tua actually had an above average season for a first round quarterback, and it's just like you say, Herbert was that good.
I think because Miami could have taken him as well.
Yeah, it's always the way. It's like it was always like with Mitch Trubisky of the Bears versus Mahomes. It's the same exact thing. And Deshaun Watson versus him as well. So next team then in 6th place was Ben Estes, and under the new rules, Ben Estes would have been a playoff team with the highest scoring points, but obviously they didn't get the wild card on the record because they were only 7-7 in the end. They got absolutely scored against. You can see the highest points against there.
Yes.
This metric wasn't too wide this year. It's closer. Apart from a select few, then we have seen it, but still did concede. You can see conceded nearly as much as he scored.
Yeah.
And looking down the team, I mean that's what you see. week in, week out, great points, certainly through the first 5 weeks. There was a bit of a blip in week 6 and 7, which, when you get into the bye weeks, that happens again. But really back up with solid scores there. Only other one clunker, but you scored well that week, so it might not have mattered anyway. Just a really, really good, solid year from my dad's team. Like you already mentioned, Josh Allen, the driving force behind that, in the 10th round or whatever it was. Dalvin Cook, nailing that top pick, nailing that Jonathan Taylor pick, picking up Cole Beasley as he goes, who obviously was a good stack with Josh Allen. Travis Kelce, another great pick. J.K. Dobbins, obviously stuck him out as well, and was the better back to have in that Ravens backfield. Melvin Gordon had an okay year, if not spectacular. But then you just look elsewhere at this team, and it's those other rookie running backs that are missing. Would they have put him over the line in the stretch?
This is the thing, isn't it? Yeah, exactly that. Now, there's only so many you can have, but one thing I think that we mustn't forget is that Dalvin Cook went down for a couple of weeks in the middle of the year. Now, would one of those rookie running backs have saved one of his weeks? Possibly not the week against me because he got battered by 75 points. But the other one, which was against Pat, he loses by 18. You very well could have. Bearing in mind he played.
Yeah, it was a horrendous bye week, and Cam Akers hadn't.
A bye week as well. Fair enough. Yeah. So you drop that, and he plays. Was he Devontae Freeman?
He was in the Giants at the time.
Yes, and scores you 0.7, or 0.8. Which is a bit of an issue. So I don't know. I think that every week that he was in, there was a 1 point. Oh, there was a 1 point. Was a 5-point week somewhere down the in the first little bit.
Oh, up here. First week of the season.
That's it. First week of the season, and the fourth week of the season he loses, and the fifth week. So he loses
so some
very small losses.
Yeah.
But this is why now that we've got our new rules in for playoffs, because a team like that deserves to be in the playoffs, and Dave produces these teams year in year out. You can't say that at any point he's actually had a problem selection's been an issue because either he's had his hands tied or his best player's gone down.
Yeah.
But it just happens to be a points magnet, and it's happened one too many times to him. I don't know what it is.
Yeah, no, it always seems to happen. It's either the injury bug or the points magnet. It's one or the other. It never seems to quite. But I suppose that's the price you pay for a nearly undefeated first season in the league. So
that's absolutely. We mustn't forget.
You've got to over-accrue that somewhere. So the fifth place team then, the team that just missed out in the playoffs last year, they did have an 8-6 record, so they had a playoff record, if you will, but just on points lost out to the Detonators, who will come into in a bit. Bucking the trend, and I know what you're going to say in a bit, but I'll give the rundown and then we'll let you have your take on it, Chris, because you can see pretty good at the opening stands of the season. Obviously, they were a bit up and down in the middle, and then again, they were just quite inconsistent all year long. And it kind of bit them in the back right at the end, but you can't fault him. He had a pretty good season overall. You look at the players on his team, obviously he had some fun and games with quarterback as well. You can see he had Tua and Taysom on his team, so another team that wasn't necessarily settled, and a lot of plug and play guys in here. Wayne Gallman, obviously he picked up Cam Akers. You have a guy like Robbie Anderson, I think, who's he also picked up, in Jacoby Myers. So he did a great job, and this was I think Mike's best year in the league so far, of course, with a winning record. And obviously smashed some draft picks in Josh Jacobs when he was healthy. You're like, okay, maybe he wasn't as good as he should have been, but he still got just under 200 points. Tyreek Hill was a great pick, as was DK Metcalf in the 4th round. But it's around those guys. It was an issue, but to be fair, he's still strung together and got 8 wins.
Yeah, absolutely. And that's again playing the game. I think Mike was very active on the waivers, did his research, his stuff, got the right. But also we mustn't forget, got very, very fortunate over the course of the year by being completely not scoring. If we talk about Dave being the points magnet, Mike is a points repellent. Yes, 100%.
So he only conceded 1,166. Just looking down, I don't believe any other team had below 1,200. They did not. The next closest, I think, was my team at 1,261. So pretty much 100 points south of the.
Yeah.
Oh, sorry, you are gold 1,245 there at the top. So. But those are the next two.
Again, part of the luck of the league, it's who you get.
His points forward weren't bad. They were certainly in the mix of,
Yeah, exactly that. But this is the difference between those 1,300 point teams who scored 1,300 points against who have a lesser record than 8-6. Because that makes a massive difference. Now I know that there are some weeks where he scored 100 and didn't win, and I think that they probably average out some of the more gypsy wins, should we say? But credit where credit's due. So if he hung his hat on 4 players and played the waivers for a lot of it, if that team had a QB,
it's the difference. If there's that draft pick of Josh Allen in there, it's possibly even the championship team.
Possibly. It didn't need that. I know he had Matt Ryan, who was just really frustrating for the first half of the year. Yeah. But again, that didn't really count for much. So yeah, again, Justin Herbert was there. Any of these guys didn't have a QB for the first half of the year. Justin Herbert was there. I mean, I know that only really came to the fore once he started playing. But once he did, I don't think anyone picked him up anyway. I think there was a week where
that was a bit of it,
they could anybody could have had him, and unfortunately it wasn't Mike who got him. But that's perhaps the thing to look at for next year is often when you have a team like that, the reaction to not having a QB each year is to go and get one high.
Yeah.
The tendency, don't do that. That's it. Keep what obviously what he did, what most teams did in that same was exactly what you.
Yeah, I mean you can get a mid-round quarterback like you saw with Deshaun Watson in the 5th round. You can get that instead of that's not great deal of difference to Matt Ryan.
You think about who's going to be there or thereabouts in the 5th round, 6th round this year. Guys like Brady, Rodgers, perhaps Justin Herbert, perhaps guy like Matt Stafford, who would be you'd think would be invigorated by going to a new offense with better receivers, who's not a complete trash franchise. So guys like that, but yeah, don't go crazy and just don't go and just draft one in the 2nd round because that's what you think you need. You really don't.
Yeah, for sure. Our next team then, Bedennes in 4th, so the wildcard team with the 8-6 record, scoring just over 1,376 points. They also conceded a lot, 7, so they did a good job to make it. If we look down the schedule, you can see that through the first 7 weeks of the season, absolutely terrific. They had a funny few weeks in weeks 8 and week 10, but other than that, just solid.
Real solid.
All season long. He obviously had Deshaun Watson, tandemed him with Jalen Hurts, where obviously he came on after he started. Picked up some great guys in Jeff Wilson, Gus Edwards, Brandon Cooks, who was cut. He obviously had Calvin Ridley, picked up T. Higgins. Lots of great ads here.
Yeah.
There's obviously some guys like Julio who aren't on there who are injured during the season. And if we pivot over to Bedennes' draft,
our boy Zach Moss ends up on there.
He's found his way into another Tony Pollard as well. Jamison Crowder, Jalen Rager, who he drafted and kept all season.
Ronald Jones, who, by the way, let's applaud that one because that was alright.
Clyde's not here as well. Clyde obviously definitely played for Ollie a number of times, and Odell Beckham before he got injured. So to overcome some of that difficulty, and Tyler Boyd, who he swapped out for T. Higgins as well, and he did well. So a lot of chopping and changing, also some good draft picks in there. So just a pretty well coached season. He made the playoffs, obviously didn't work out in the end of it.
Exactly that. You
lost in the title game to Ross, but again posted a respectable 121. So
absolutely right. So there is no shame losing to 180 in the final.
Yeah,
there's absolutely nothing we can do about that. I think with Ollie, there was a lot of 100-point games that he scored this year, and you always love to. That's the benchmark, I think, for me, is that it's a good team when you get to 100. If you lose when you get to 100, it's not quite so bad. Because the other team is, you couldn't have done anything more, I don't think. You get to 100, 120, but anything to 100, 120 points, and if you lose on them, fair enough. Shake your hand. Shake his hand.
Indeed.
As you say, we looked at the draft earlier on. Oz was solid as a rock. A lot of the players that he drafted, he kept towards the end of the season. The things that he needed to change, he did change. Yeah. Towards the end of the year, obviously Deshaun Watson carried him most of the way, but not all the way. In a semi-final, he played me. He changed the team massively in that semi-final because he had to, for various reasons, whether it be form, injury, whatever. Played it magnificently. That's why you got guys like Gus Edwards and Tony Pollard, whatever, because they got him to the point where, again, wasn't loyal to the players that he had all year. He played the form, played the guys that we're going to score him the touchdowns, and did. And that is the sign of somebody who's been around the block and done it.
Yeah, so Jalen Hurts, Tony Pollard, James Robinson also wasn't on that list. Probably contender for the pickup of the year.
Forget about him, man. Yes,
Brandon Cooks, Calvin Ridley, obviously the drafted player. Because, there was only one drafted player, I believe, playing on that team, as you say, in week 15 of the playoffs, and he won.
Yeah.
And not only won, 127 points. So.
That's right. That's it. It wasn't a cheeky win either, so it was well constructed.
Yeah.
Deservedly going to the looking at the points scored all year, deservedly went to the playoffs, deservedly got to the final, and came across the form team of the whole year. So to get that team to where he got them to eventually with the points that got scored against it, we mustn't forget that. Obviously we
only had the team over 1,400. I believe.
Called Dave a hard luck story, but he was only one win off the playoffs. I did get there with being scored against massively, but also. Aside from the real wobble mid-season, was really rock solid, and played the game superbly.
Definitely. And then his division mate, Ollie Gardner, he won his first division.
Well, yes,
and made the playoffs. 9-5 record overall. Pretty good points forward. You do mention the points forward a bit lighter, but not ridiculously so. Looking at his schedule, again, just another team that was pretty good all season long. You can see through those first 6 weeks, solid as a rock. Couple of iffy weeks there, but then they pick it back up. They did drop one against Ollie there, but solid end of the season. Obviously, fell apart a bit in the playoffs. Only got 83 points. Look at the team. He obviously drafted well. Kyler Murray, Kenyon Drake, Nick Chubb, Adam Thielen, Cooper Kupp. Drafted all of these guys. CeeDee Lamb made his way onto the team, but obviously after Prescott's injury, he wasn't as valuable. Marquis Brown, he was okay. He picked up TJ Hawkinson. Johnny Smith was obviously good in spots as well. So a solid team, presided over a solid year. Obviously didn't add to the formula too much. Maybe that could have helped him get over the line a bit. But solid, what can you say?
For sure, I totally agree. So I think when you have, one of these fantasy studs like Kyler Murray was last year and was just printing points in the first half of the year, that gives you a really nice solid foundation to build on. And, if you can get 6 wins out the first 8 or 9 weeks,
and
it doesn't take a lot then to get.
That was another thing that let it down at the end of the year, because Kyler obviously had his own injury problems at the end of the season. I'm almost certain if we look at the game log from the final, Ollie's last game of the season. Shut up, he posted 39 points in that game, but, despite a few weeks, like you say, he was printing points for the rest of the time.
Absolutely. And it was more about, I think it's probably more about his support. Obviously, Kenyon Drake fell away towards the end of the year. Nick Chubb had injury problems to the midpoint. Thielen's fantasy relevance sort of came away as Justin Jefferson's increased. Cooper Kupp had a funny quarterback year because
Goff.
Jared Goff was absolute garbage most of the year. So say CeeDee Lamb wasn't there for long. Marquis Brown, who did draft, wasn't fantastic. But look, we mustn't forget he got 9 wins, and those 9 wins get him in the bag early towards the end of the year, allowed him to be able to drop a few, get his 3 wins to get to the playoffs, and did his thing. And I think that you have to put that entirely down to the draft, really, because he had the foresight to get these big guys in, and he got a lot of quality in a team there. So hats off.
Now we get to the regular season champion, your team, Chris. You were number 1 seed entering the playoffs, second of your career, 9-5 record. Obviously that was tied with Ollie Gardner, but you bested him just on points. You did have a fairly low conceded points as well. I actually missed that when we were comparing to Mike's, but Mike's was still 60 less than yours, so you weren't a long way off the next few either. Looking down your season, again, a bit of a slow start, 85 points, and then you had a rough 100 point to 103 point loss in week 2, but thereafter, look, rattling off wins in each week from 3 to 8, 6 in a row. Then you alternated as the season went on, but still, he's posting some good score totals here, and again, you posted a good score total in week 15. You were just outscored by the other player. Lamar was good. Obviously, he had COVID problems, a bit of inconsistent. see problems. Derrick Henry, fantastic season, great pick, despite being usurped on draft day, of course. But I suppose that saved your season as it happened. James Conner, you already mentioned. Obviously, he was a bit up and down with injuries. Robert Tonyan was a good streamer. DJ Moore, maybe not quite as good as Hope, but he was still a very solid player. And then you did well playing the waiver and obviously managing COVID as well. You famously had that 1 week where we completely ruined. You look at your bench there, you've picked up guys like Naeem Hines, Russell Gage, Terry McLaurin, obviously a drafted guy, but Curtis Samuel as well, in tandem with DJ Moore. So you didn't necessarily have the luck of the draft completely on your side, but you added to that and COVID charged you suffered, but it still ended up as a winner with the regular season championship.
And this is the thing, I think I had to trust a few of the picks more. I dropped Deontay Johnson and Brandon Ayuk too early last year, and they would have made the difference in the last bit of the season, I'm sure. But yeah, again, guys like Robert Tonyan, who won me 30 quid on Super Bowl, by the way. Cheers, man. That's it. It got me across the line. Yeah, I have to say that there was some frustrating weeks with receivers, because it did seem as though.
Yeah, I mean, if you're going to pick one weakness of your team, I guess it's the receiver room, because Mclaurin, Moore, they were largely there all season long, and obviously they're your two guys. There's no one else on the roster of guys, so it was receiver wasn't the strength of your team.
Certainly not, no. So, and to have Lamar and Derrick Henry as sort of the foundation, and I said earlier on, you can't pick two players and then try and find some randomness, but you can with those guys because they're just good enough to be able to do that.
Wasn't quite the Holy Trinity. It was
wasn't quite this year.
Was the divine duo.
Indeed, but I will say that there is an underrated part of my team, and that is the kicker and DST, because I have to say, Ryan Suckup and the Pittsburgh Steelers defense were absolutely brilliant for me last year, and it allowed me to have that little flex with the receivers that otherwise I couldn't have had.
Yeah. But that's part of good team building, right? So it's you can laugh it off and say, okay, there's the third highest scoring defense. That's no small feat, and you compare that to if you go down to 10 or 12, it's in the 140s. And you didn't necessarily draft them particularly high either.
No, exactly that. For a 10th rounder, it was no brainer really. So yeah, I mean that was pleasing to have. I also lost. We mustn't forget. By the 0.2 point week, which was dumb. so yeah, whatever that was, I can't remember when that was. But there it was. But Dirty is in week 11.
Oh,
so
yeah, there you go.
Ollie gets to the playoffs via a 0.2 of a point week. But hey, look, these things happen. So still getting first in the regular season. I'm not gonna lie. And I must admit, getting that team to the playoffs was a really good achievement. Winning the regular season was an achievement itself, but getting to the playoffs was great. Didn't quite happen for me there, but look, you were part of the Final Four. So
yeah,
there's no complaints from me. Bearing in mind that the whole year was either in flux with COVID or receivers not in form, whatever. To come out with that, I was super. And
sure.
I'm not gonna lie, I rode my luck. Yes, the points against were very low. Points scored were average, but hey, that's the luck of the draw, man.
Sure is. And then our final team then, so Ross's team, the champion of 2020 season, Corona 12.
Yes.
First Corona victory, second playoff appearance, first division title. You can see that they were only just the second highest scoring team, 2 points less than my dad's. 8-6 record overall. You look down, they had a good start to the season, 4 wins on the trot, and each of those weeks over 100. But you see, then they had this brutal stretch from weeks 5 to 9, where they only picked up 1 win. Had a couple of clunkers in week 5 and 6, and then back on the horse week 7 to 9, but not in the same prolific way. But then you look down the stretch there from week 10 to week 14, winning 4 or 5 of those games. Obviously winning, they won 6 or 7 to go and win in the title game. And you look at the team now, so it was also drafted, there's no getting away from that. ADP was kind, you could say. Aaron Rodgers, Aaron Jones, Mike Evans, Stephon Diggs, Alvin Kamara, Latavius Murray, all guys they had drafted. If we pick up the rest of their drafted players as well, because I'm sure they probably had an injured guy or two by that point who wasn't on the roster for the final day. I said Stephon Diggs. Yeah, I said Stephon Diggs. Oh no, maybe not. Hunter Henry, he had some good games as well. And only 7 roster moves for the whole season for us in terms of what drops and adds.
Yep.
Didn't change the formula too much. You look at the points of these guys here. Obviously, the highest scoring quarterback, I think, in Aaron Rodgers.
Yep.
3 200-point players, one who was nearly a 300-point player, another high 100-point player in Mike Evans, and that was it for all season. They didn't need that fifth skill player when you've got those 4 players.
I totally agree. That's it, and that's why they could get away with playing Latavius Murray and Kamara at the same time for most of the year.
Yep.
They could come and play Marcus Valdes-Scantling, who every week it seemed to be like, why? But I don't know. It is unsavoury for me to talk about an auto-drafted team in a positive light and with 7 roster moves because there's no skill involved. There's no skill involved.
Especially when it's not even the team is deep, but the selection to get the point, because it was largely just left to its own devices.
That's right, and it's happened that the ADP fell on its feet. Now, fair play to Ross. He rode with it for the year, as you would do. I mean, crikey, you end up with a team like that. You're not going to complain, are you? Especially by not being there or picking it yourself. And this is the thing with that, is that at certain points of the draft, you would think that if it was human picked, there would be some randomness to it, where perhaps certain players would have gone before those, and then it would have dropped to others and maybe made it a bit closer. But you can't argue the fact that by sticking with it, not playing around with it too much, and allowing it to run its course.
It's very easy in fantasy, isn't it, to micromanage. Very
100%.
easy. I think a lot of us have done it, and especially when you look at one. Yes, he had the 3-1 start, but Ross was 4-5 entering week 10. It's very easy at that point to say, okay, look, it's going right, and there was some injury problems and stuff in there as well. But it's very easy to say at that point, okay, maybe I do need to change player, I need to add a guard, trade a guy. But he did stick with it. And it did pay off in the end, as I said.
100%, and that's it. And that, you're right. It's a skill in itself to be able to sit back and go, "This is going to work." And fair play to Ross for doing that. But again, with the quality of player that he had it at his disposal, there is a part of me which says that he probably just couldn't lose this year.
Yeah, it would have taken a bit more fortune, like you say, maybe a bit of a change of picks or pickups in one of the other playoff teams to maybe best him. I mean, he did just make the playoffs. He had the 8-6 record, which was only 1 ahead of Tom. We saw Tom's 0-5 start. We saw the Dream Teams collapse. It wasn't like the division was his all year long. Certainly not. Other things had to happen to allow Ross to come in into the playoffs and eventually win it. So
100%. And fair play. I mean, it's great to see another winner. I just don't really want to make sure this happens again. It's happened too many times now.
We've seen it with the touchdown syndrome, then the Real QB in 2012, and then I'm pretty sure Niger's Coronavirus team was also in the draft, though at least in those 2 instances the coaches were there changing the team.
Made a difference. Exactly that. So I think the moral of the story is just turn up to the draft. Do your draft yourself, and then at least we know that it's a level playing field. And everyone's picked who they think is the best player on that given day.
Yeah.
Rather than 11 of us thinking that, and then the computer picking one.
Yeah. Or basically the whole world, because it's just based on ADP.
That's it. Yeah, exactly that. So I'm computers. But that's the last time I'm going to say that now. Is that it's it? The season is done. Congratulations to Ross. It doesn't matter how you won. You did.
Sure did.
This season we can only now look forward to this season.
Indeed.
And just remember, before we go, drafting is not easy, but drafting is a hell of a lot easier when you learn from your mistakes.
It's very true. That's wise words. I don't really want to add on to that, but I'm going to, because we are fully onto this season now. The division line next Sunday, we'll be back with the recap, the division review, and the season schedule reveal after that. So stay tuned. Have a good rest of your Sunday, and we'll see you later.